Okay, we're started. Well, welcome to the Empowered Living Show. My name is Lisa Mizels, and I'm your host. And today we are going to be talking with Randi Pierce. And I'm really excited about this topic that she's going to be talking about. We haven't had any guests come on and talk about this before, but it's super, super important. It's a really huge piece of empowerment and a huge piece of how to succeed in your business. So today, Randi's going to be talking about secrets to soulful success, how to break free and create the life you really want. So let me tell you a little bit about Randi. Since 2008, Randi Pierce has been showing online women solopreneurs how to claim the life that they've always wanted to live by owning their divine power and mastering their business. Randi provides expert guidance to show you exactly what you need to do to create more clarity, ease, and cash flow in your business. And she says, you're a supernova. And she says it's time to start making money like it. I love that. I love that, Randi. Randi helps build the authentic and abundant business that supports life. So tell us a little bit about your past and how you kind of came up with your business vision and how you became empowered yourself.
Excellent question. Actually, I started very disempowered. It was my childhood dream to become an entrepreneur. I was born into a very working class family with very working class beliefs, but I was born an entrepreneur. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be able to create my life as it worked for me. I wanted to create a life on my own terms. And in a conversation with my father, I was about 15. And he said, look, you got to get into a good college so that you can get into a good company so that you can get a good retirement. And my response to that, it wasn't even processed intellectually. It was very much what I call a soul prompt or a soul response. And that, to me, those moments where you say something where it doesn't even pass through your brain, it's just something in the fiber of your being and it's who you are. My response to that was, listen, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to own homes all over the world, and I'm going to do what I want to do.
And that's it.
Right? Yeah. And he sort of looked at me and he said, well, good luck with that, kid. But really, I was born an entrepreneur. I wasn't always good at it. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the empowerment piece comes in. No one starts this journey perfect. I don't know anyone who makes it big or has success their first run out of the gate. It took me quite a long time. It really wasn't until my 8th or 9th business venture where things started to click. It wasn't until my 10th and 11th business attempts or business ventures where things really started to get good. So once I got aligned, once I monetized my purpose, once I figured out what I was here to do and figured out how to communicate that effectively through my marketing to connect with my ideal clients, that's when things got really good. And I've never looked back ever since then. But I'll be honest, it's a journey. It's not an overnight thing.
It's a journey first, life is a journey, right? But the entrepreneurship is a journey of the soul. It really is a calling. It's listening to yourself. It's listening to that calling within in most of us from, a lemonade stand, or, I used to make these little bark. I'd get pieces of bark and I'd put these little thistles with eyes on it. And my neighbors had a hobby shop, and I would try and sell them in there. So, just things like that get your creativity going, that's always with you. And so when you are becoming an entrepreneur and becoming more successful, you're learning about yourself. You're learning about who you are. So, and that's what you do. You help women become clear and authentic. How do you do that? Give us some tips there.
Very intuitively and from a lot of practice. Over the years, I've probably coached by now, I've sort of lost track. I quit tracking at about 220. It's probably closer to 280 now. Listen, this is what I was born to do. I understand people and I understand what's blocking them, and I know how to help them get what they want. And I say that with sort of a caveat, because it's really not about getting, it's about creating from the inside out. But most people understand that language when you say, I can help you get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I understand people, and whether that's something, I'm very intuitive, although I don't advertise myself as an intuitive coach. I don't mind talking about it, but all of the work that I do is very instinctual, and I coach on an individual basis. I usually start with a couple of core questions, but from there, it really depends on who I'm working with and what they want to accomplish and where they are and what they're dealing with. I simply customize my coaching strategy to help them break free and to boost their cash flow.
So tell us a part of, like, give us a tip on how you or explain to us how you help women find their authenticity. How do you help them get connected with themselves, to be able to show up authentic?
The first question I always ask is, what do you want? I believe that there is there's massive power behind asking a question of what do you want, because we have these invisible driving forces that drive our actions without us even knowing. One is soul. Number two is our subconscious. If we can find out what it is that we want, we can get to the heart of what those driving forces are. And from there, then I just backtrack and sort of unravel the puzzle of, where are they stuck? Why aren't they creating it? And how do we get it? How do we make that? How do we get what they want? And I sort of shortcut the process. So it's very organic, it's very intuitive, but it's always usually from that place of, what do you want? Because the truth is, if you're working out of alignment from what those invisible driving forces are guiding you to, you're going to run yourself in circles and never get anywhere. And trust me, I know that, because I did it for many years. I didn't know how to create what I wanted. And I didn't know that I was driving myself in circles. It was really from my own life and unraveling this chronic cycle of struggle that I started to ask, well, what do I really want and how do I get it? And from there, everything changed.
Wow. Yeah. And I think, it's like this resistance that we feel as we're trying to get something or trying to force something. When you're not listening, you feel this frustration or this being stuck. And that's kind of like your resistance telling you you're on the wrong path. You're, veer left, or, get back on into alignment. But we don't listen to that. We just stay frustrated and like, darn, it's not working. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to, that whole energy. And I've been there before. And I've just said, this is not what I want my business to be like. This is, I don't want this energy. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the completely opposite reason, to have fun and to feel empowered and to feel myself, be myself. So I think I'm sure you come up with that a lot when women are frustrated and stuck and can't see their way out of, like you were just saying. And so what is some of the like the most typical blocks that you see when you're working with women?
Money. It's one of the most common blocks. Most of the women who come to me for coaching come to me because they want to make more money in their business, but working harder or building their business in a way that other coaches or other products or programs have conditioned them to do that. In that way don't feel right. And that's what throws them out of alignment. And I really think that there are two pieces to resistance. There's the resistance that you feel when you're totally off center or out of center, not operating from your true self. And then there's the resistance that happens when you're learning and growing and you're going from student to master. And that's something that I actually talk a lot about, because listen, being a student, you struggle. It's hard. It's very much like, anyone who's young, you probably won't know this, but The Karate Kid is a perfect example of that. The original movie, Ralph Macchio goes to Mr. Miyagi to learn karate to defend himself, and he ends up painting a fence. And he ends up having to do all this work that he's not interested in. But here's the thing, that work is essential to mastery. So when women come to me, they're frustrated about the money, but what is really blocking them is they're not really in touch with their message or their individuality or what makes them different from the masses. And they don't know how to communicate that. They don't know how to communicate what they do or the results that their clients can expect in an effective way, so people aren't buying. And thus, they're not making money. So there are several other layers to the money factor, but I would say those are probably the most common blocks that I see.
Yeah, those are good.
So you working with the emotional piece, kind of untangling that the blocks on an emotional level. What can you share about that? Well,
I can say that my coaching is very untraditional. I mean, I may deal with some things with one client that I'll never talk about with another client. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a private client right now who has been coaching with me for several weeks, and she's made some money. But from my experience, most of the women who work with me have massive money breakthroughs pretty quickly. And this one seems to be, we have some underlying work to do. And so we've talked about her childhood. We've talked about her past experiences that have been traumatic for her. We've talked about boundaries. We've talked about she's very much a giver. And so she gives to everyone else before herself. And one of the things that I've been working on with her on is building a solid container. The thing about wealth is that it's almost like an energetic leak. If you're not firm in who you are, if you're not clear about who you are, if you're not confident in your ability to show up in the world and say, this is who I am, and I have zero attachment to whether or not you like me or not. I also have zero attachment to your approval or rejection of me. It doesn't do anything. It affects me in no way. And you can't build wealth and you can't build a solid business without having a solid container. All of those energetic leaks that come from not knowing who you are, being afraid to show up in the world, being afraid to say no, and giving. You can't hold money that way energetically. It's impossible because you're a leaky container. So firm boundaries. Listen, you don't have to be rude and you don't have to be cruel, but you definitely have to be clear, confident, and sometimes firm in saying no and having zero energetic or emotional attachment to what people think of you. And that's often a tough thing to do because these are women who are married, they have children, they have responsibilities, they have relationship patterns that have been in place for 20 years or more. And change is disruptive and not everyone can do it.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. Sound like your client is similar to me.
I'll be honest. I was a tough case too. It took me a really long time to dive down. Some of this stuff is so deep and it's multiple layers and listen, you've got to work and you've got to work and you've got to work to peel those layers back to get to the heart.
Yeah. And they say most of the blockages, the patterns, the patterning that gets triggered in our daily lives comes from the point of origin could be 0 to 7, right? I mean, that's when most of the stuff happens. And the more traumatic it is, the less you remember it. But subconsciously, that's what's kind of eating away at you, because it's affecting everything that you're doing and all of the way that you react to things. It's a subconscious reaction. It's not something you even know about. So it's hard for somebody to peel back the layers on their own.
Definitely. And one of my favorite teachers is Brian Weiss. I was introduced to him many years ago, and I've read several of his books. And I believe it was him who said 95% of what we do as an adult is based on patterns and behaviors that we developed before the age of 5. Now, when I read that, when I read that, I was really struggling in my business. I was struggling to find my place in the world, and I was struggling to make money. I really had to take a deep look and say, where is my 5-year-old self running my life and running my business? You cannot show up as a 5-year-old in your business. You can't. Your inner child is always going to be part of you. But listen, the empowered woman has to show up in order to get stuff done and to be of service and to be a leader. A 5-year-old can't do that. So to give you an example, yes, there was some childhood stuff that we had to work through that one client. But, I'll be honest, her husband had a heart attack several years back, and she's worried about losing him. And so there's things tied in to her success that, that happened 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. I'm not here to judge anyone, and I'm not here to tell them that their stuff is childhood based. I'm here to have conversations with women to figure out what attachments and emotional traumas they've attached to their previous experiences. It could have been something yesterday that's stopping them from creating success. That's all I'm here to do.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's, everything that you've said is something that I've gone through. Not everything that you've said, but the stuff that the general trend that you're talking about is stuff that I think all entrepreneurs go through, because we have to find ourselves. We have to be able to stand up for ourselves. We have to find our uniqueness and be able to put it out there and stop hiding. And so all of these hurdles that we're going over one after another, it's opening us up, and it's helping us, tune in better to become that fully aligned person that's a manifesting magnet, right? That's where it gets really fun, and life flows, and you're swimming down the stream of effortlessness, and life's just going by on either side, and it doesn't matter, because you're right where you need to be. And it's so much fun when you're in that flow.
Absolutely. Listen, your only job as a woman here is to make sure that your expression of who you really are, and the expression of the divine universal energy that flows through you, has all the room it needs to express itself and to show up in the world and to help other people, because that's the only reason we're here.
Yep. That's the only reason we're here. That's why, giving is a win-win situation, right? You give, you feel good, you win. You're full of, the person that you're giving to is full of gratitude, they win. And the money piece is just it's a way of stepping yourself up. When you're giving money to somebody else, it's a way of saying, I believe in myself. And I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you can explain it better.
Well, I think it's probably an individual thing. For me, it really comes down to, because this is one of my core driving values, that is, I want to create life on my own terms. And in order to do that, I need to make the money that funds my vision. So for me, it's about creative expression. I happen to be very spiritual, although when it comes to my coaching, it's down and dirty. Let's get to the practical stuff of what has to happen here.
I can tell. That's good.
but for me, it's really, I've just been obsessed with my personal empowerment because I want to determine my divine destiny the way I want it to be. I don't want any limitations, and I don't want anybody else putting rules on me. You should have seen me as a teenager. I was horrible to deal with. I probably could have emancipated myself from my family at the age of 5. It was insane. Wow. But to me, that's my core driving value. And once you identify what that is, well, then you know what's important to you, and then you know what you have to do in order to honor that. And that's one of the reasons why I was so attracted to interviewing with you, is the alignment piece. Listen, you have to get in alignment with what you came here to do. And the best way I have found to do that is to build your own business, monetizing the thing that you were born to do. I mean, it sort of makes like, duh.
Yeah.
To me. That's the quickest way to what you want.
Yeah. And the quickest way to find out what that is to do what you love.
Absolutely.
So simple, right? It's so simple. Yeah. But that was my big, huge shift, is just, saying, things didn't work out, and okay, fine, I'm just going to do something that's fun. And that's when things started shifting for me, and everything kind of swirled around and started connecting to each other. And yeah, that's where the big shift happened. But it was just saying, forget it. I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Yep.
It's so simple.
Yep.
But gosh. So tell us.
Lisa, 1 minute, Lisa. Yeah. It's 9 minutes. Is that 8 or 9 minutes? You know that it's only. Yeah. You know how much time? Okay. I just wanted to.
Yeah. I got the notification. Yeah. So we have about 8 more minutes before the end of the interview, but talk about the energy piece, because that's kind of what, I mean, that's what I specialize in. And I would love to hear from your point of view when you talk about when you're aligned, you feel energized.
Absolutely. So I've had periods in my corporate life, because there were times when I couldn't make money as an entrepreneur. So I had a corporate career that provided a steady paycheck, but none of that ever felt like me. And boy, I was showing up in the world. I was just an a-hole. I was an a-hole to a lot of people. I was very unhappy. I was not the person that you see today. And I realize now, none of that was me. That was my reaction to being in a lifestyle and in a life that didn't align with my divine truth. It really wasn't until I got in alignment, energetic alignment. And this is where the work comes in. Yes. Once you identify what you do want, then you have to do everything in your practical and physical power to make that happen. It's when we don't set the boundaries. It's when we don't take the action. It's when we don't do what's required of creating that alignment that gets us into trouble. We're frustrated. We start feeling physical ailments. And I've been through this myself. I've worked very hard where I am, and I am a workhorse. I'll be the first one to admit it. But now that I'm in my 40s, I'm getting to a place where I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It doesn't have to work. I don't have to work so hard. It doesn't have to be so hard. And I don't have to work 16 hours a day to make the money that I want. Where I am now is, how can I do this in the most aligned, easy way, in a way that feels good, in a way that's fast, in a way that provides greater abundance. So the alignment piece, listen, all of that will show up. Your personality, your emotional, your physical, all of those elements of who you are, you'll show up in the world in dysfunctional ways. And obviously where the health is concerned, listen, you really have to pay attention to that, because when your health starts being affected, you have to make changes. If you don't have your body and you don't have your health, you have no way of determining your divine destiny. None.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely. Oh, Gosh, I love what you're saying. I love what you do. I think it's fantastic. And I can tell that women that work with you, that you get right to the core of what they need to do to make that change. And that's why people that you work with make such a quick shift. That, that's why they make the money that they are not making now, because you're able to just get right in there. I can tell that. That's wonderful. Do you have any last words of wisdom for us?
Not that I can think of, other than nothing matters more than building a life that makes you happy. Nothing.
That's what we're here for.
I don't care if it's a business or a husband or whatever, where you live. I don't care what it is. Not everyone is going to understand it, but nothing matters more than living the life that you want. Nothing.
That's perfect. Thank you for that. I totally agree. I mean, my personal belief is we're here to enjoy life, to find out what that is. And so you have a gift for our listeners.
I do. It is one of my favorite places for women to meet me and to learn more about me and to receive massive value. It's my cash flow challenge. You can find out more about it at randipierce.com/cashflow challenge, all one word, all lowercase. This is an online community where you can get in, you can learn more about me. You can actually join the challenge for free. I run it live several times a year. Probably 3 or 4 times a year. But even when it's not running, the content for the challenge is inside the group. That's also where I show up on a regular basis. We're just getting nitty gritty about building your business, dealing with the money blocks, and healing all of that.
Awesome. That sounds great. And that is also going to be on the Empowered Living Facebook group. In the file section, I'll have Randi's website information and the name of the free gift and her replay, so you can get that in the Facebook group. So thank you so much, Randi, for being on. I really appreciate it. And this is great information. I love what you share. And I just, thank you.
Uh-oh, did you freeze? Lisa?
Yep.
You froze a little. I think your internet connection.
Well, it's a good thing that we're saying goodbye then. So thank you so much for being here, Randi. I appreciate it. And thank you, Maggie, for being here as well.
Oh, you're welcome. Seemed like she left so fast.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Now, let's see.